Hello, my name is Arthur Solomon. This is part of my Flipper Zero video series. So what we're going to be working with is a Flipper Zero. So the objective of this first video is getting the Flipper Zero unboxed and getting the firmware on the device up to date. So we're going to do the unboxing, and then I'm going to jump into a Windows 10 machine where we go through the installation of the QFlipper tool and then actually getting the firmware on the device updated. So let's jump in and let's see what we can do. Alright, so what I have is I have my flipper, I have a silicone bumper, and I have a mini SD card, sorry, a micro SD card. So let's go ahead and let's open up everything. So when you first open your flipper box, you're going to have a few things. You're going to have a sticker. You're going to have instructions. You're going to have your USB-A to USB-C cable, and then you're going to have the flipper itself. My flipper is out of the box, no SD card installed, and no Wi-Fi module or any other additional module installed, because clearly it's just pulled out of the box. One of the big things that I notice people do is when they first open it, they want to get to certain features right away. However, a little bit of prep work makes this a lot easier. Take your micro SD card, get it inserted. One of the things I did notice is if you try to put it in backwards, it ain't gonna work. It actually goes connector side up. When you go to set it in there, it should slide in just nice and easy. Push it all the way in, and if you can't quite get it, if you can't use your nail, you can do a popsicle stick or something like that. I want to pop it back out. Again, if you go to insert it the wrong way, it ain't gonna let you do it. Connector side up, and that's the only way the card slides in nice and easy. You will hear a click once it's all the way in. So now that we have that, one of the things that I want to make sure that we do is notice where the USB-C connector is. Let's open our silicone protective housing. So when you look at the silicone, you're going to notice you have memory slot, but you also have a place for your plug-in. So I want to go ahead and get this installed. I do that because, well, honestly, I dropped my last flipper and damaged the screen, so I normally want to get the rubber protector on as quickly as possible. Alright, so that is at least getting our memory card inserted. It gets our unit on. Well, we haven't powered it on just yet, but we have our safety on, and now we can actually look at our first steps. One of the things that I thought was really interesting is it even tells you on the box, firmware update, flipper 0.1. I have noticed there are some issues when you do that. So let's go ahead and let's get the software installed before we power on the units. Alright, so like I said, I have a Windows 10 VM, and it's a basic Windows 10. I have only Chrome installed, nothing else has been done. It's done updates and Chrome. That's it. So I'm going to open up Chrome. Sure, I'll set to my defaults. Alright, so when I go here, again, following the instructions, update.flipper 0.1. Update.flipper 0.1. So this is one avenue. You can do your update.flipper. You should get your cookies, that's fine. You can also just look for QFlipper. Either one works. Alright, so you may see a time jump. That's because my Camtasia crashed while I was talking. Anyways, QFlipper, download. Again, we're going to install the official firmware first. That is because the big thing here is before you do custom firmware, it will actually build out the appropriate file structure if you use the official firmware first. We're going to do a basic installation. It will unpack. Again, basic installation. Next, install it wherever you think is appropriate. Make sure you have the USB DFU driver. That's the bootloader driver. That is necessary for all of this to function. Alright, it installs the drivers, sets up the software, and we are good to go. I'm going to click Finish, and we are good to proceed to the next step. So the next step is very simple. Connect your USB to your flipper and turn it on. So, I did say I'm doing this as a VM, so one thing that I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to plug it in and then connect it to my VM. Not a big deal. So, you should see the second I plug it in, it will ask, do I want to connect it? I do want to connect it to a VM. I'm connecting it to my Windows 10. And I get my, do you want to connect? All of that fun stuff, and we are good. You're going to notice the second I plugged it into power, it turned on. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, and you guys should see a little bit better view now. It does say no database was found on the SD card. You can actually go ahead and click OK. That is fine. It loads settings. I'm going to go back. That's perfectly fine. No database. When we do the firmware update, it's going to handle that portion of it. So that is not that big of a deal. We're going to open up our flipper. Alright, so you're going to notice that we now see our flipper and we see what is ever on the screen on my flipper. So our SD card is showing 99% free. The database is missing, and that is okay. We can do a update. And before we do the update, I'm going to poke around. This is information. The wrench is more of a settings or advanced controls. And then we have our file manager. You can see the internal flash or the SD card. I'm more concerned with the advanced controls. If you click on advanced controls under firmware, we have release, and that is tested, it's been QA'd, it works, it functions. Our release candidate is the next evolution. It is undergoing QA now, but hasn't been verified or released, so it's a release candidate. And then lastly is development. Development is the latest build, but it's not official and it's not been tested yet. Everyone has their preferences. I hear a lot of people say just do dev kit. You don't have any real issues. However, in my path, I'm going to do the release. That's okay. You can do a backup or restore. I am saying if you are later down the line, you might want to do a backup before you do firmware updates. Mine is brand new out of the box, so I have nothing to back up. I'm going to click on update. It will erase everything and the new firmware will be installed. That is okay. Yes. Update. I flipped my flipper around so you can actually read the text. So you're going to notice on my workstation it's showing blank, but on the hardware device it's updating the firmware. This does take a few minutes, so you do have to be patient. I am actually doing a full-length video. I'm not pausing, I'm not stopping. So this is showing real time the amount of effort it took me to do it. So yeah. It is about halfway done now. All right, about 90, 95. Updating, it restarted. When it restarts, it's going to ask me again to connect it. I'm just going to remember my choice. So, software, it does take a minute. It will recognize the firmware on the flipper has been updated. It will eventually get back to the continue portion. It will also alert you operation has finished, so you can continue. You'll notice database is now installed. It gives you the firmware version, the build date, and any other information you are needing. You can review the logs if you want. And that is it. So, we have met the objective of installing and getting the software and the Q Flipper up and ready to go. And we've updated our Flipper Zero firmware to at least the current build according to when this video is. I'm keeping the videos short and sweet, so again, questions or concerns with this process, feel free to reach out and let me know. So now you're able to take your unit and start practicing. Thank you.